Good morning, I'm Raquel the Bell on the one and only WWNN 1470. Today in the studio we have Tracy from We Are the People. You can join her every Monday night from 7 to 7:30 p.m. on her website, wearethepeople.tv. Tracy tackles the student loan dilemma and offers viable options. And now, here's Tracy.
There, Good evening. I'm Tracy Marks, and Don Cleveland is here with us again. And it's Monday night, right around 7 o'clock. For those of you who are watching us on the web, you can also find us in South Florida at 1470, WNN 1470 on your AM dial. And for those listening on the radio, our website is wearethepeople.tv. And you can find our archives there. The last few weeks, we've been talking about social economic unfairness, some of the different things that the banks have done, and the rights, basically, that have been taken away from us and displaced, so to speak. And if you watched the show last night, you saw that I got the paperwork for Student Services Society, so we are legal and liable in the state of Florida.
That's right, Tracy.
So I'm really excited about that. And tonight we're going to concentrate on telling you what Student Services Society is all about, what our long-range plans are. And what we're hoping is that we'll have some community engagement with this. We've got a lot of great ideas, and I believe all things are possible. Where there's a will, there's a way, after all.
That's
and
right.
So, yes, we've got big ideas here. And, of course, nothing is going to all happen at once. We're going to pick out some things and start. But we want to give you an overview of our long-range plans because we don't plan on going away.
Right. And Tracy, I think that's very well said. We don't plan on going away. The good Lord willing and the creek don't rise.
Yes.
But after the rainstorm we had on the way into the studio.
Yeah, I could swim. It was up to my doors in some places.
Right. What it really amounts to is that, as you said, we've been covering this aspect of financial inequality in the United States and trying to deal with the issue of how we can more or less democratize this aspect of having some form of financial equality. And we also said that one of the biggest classes that's been discriminated against in the United States happen to be the students, who most of whom have to take out debt in order to go through school. And unlike many other nations, as we've already discussed, advanced nations, their children don't have to even pay for their college education. But we haven't advanced our thoughts in this nation far enough yet to do that. There is some movement to, of course, make some college, the 2-year degree, free to students, and that's advanced, I believe, in the state of Tennessee, where the governor there and the state has moved ahead to actually make that happen. But we want to do it on a national program to help out, to move our children, our future along, to make it more profitable for everyone. In that respect, though, that's when you and I first started talking, after you'd found out about my book, that we started talking about what can we do to help the students.
And I would really like to suggest, if you haven't, you've probably heard us mention the book, but the website is revitalizeamericanow.org. And once you read that book, you realize that our government is capable of anything. And they're not necessarily the ones that are going to help us. So that's another reason why we're starting this organization. I mean, I think our government, once it's overhauled, could be a good thing again.
Right.
And it has good moments, but not many. And, we're getting far, far away from what we were meant to be as a country, I think. And it's time to put aside our differences as far as being Republican, Democrat, or independent and come together as a people.
That's right. That's right. And the biggest thing here is that the government is there to help the people. But the problem is that there has been too much emphasis over the past 40 years in dislocating wealth. And it isn't dislocating wealth to help the poor. It's dislocating wealth to help the wealthy.
So, and our government's been bought, in
That's right.
essence. I mean,
That's right.
and that's not, I'm not trying to be nasty here, but you can actually go to opensecrets.org. You can look and find who's contributing to what campaign.
Sure.
And of course, now that corporations are people, then, it's been downhill ever since.
That's right.
So,
That's right. And what it amounts to, when we take a look at the Student Services Society, we had to define a mission, a general mission statement for the society, and then some specific objectives. And when we look at the mission statement, if I may just take a second to read it.
Please do.
The mission statement says that this organization is to provide aid and assistance to post-elementary, middle school individuals seeking higher education who need assistance with current student-related problems or those who have unresolved problems stemming from their higher education experience through consultation, economic assistance, aid, and assistance in their legal affairs. So it's a very broad mission, helping everyone from middle school on through college, and even those who have left college who still have issues remaining after they have left college.
yeah, mainly student loan debt. And as far as the middle school, what we want to do is we want to educate people on what is happening, what student loans can do. I mean, there's you see stuff all over, but it's unless you're looking for it, it's hard to find. We want to go into the schools. We want to speak to the students. We want to speak to the parents. We want them to be aware before these types of things happen and get them involved in helping us turn this around.
That's correct. And as one of the specific objectives, we undertake that objective by saying we want to buy student debt and to pair up with debt relief organizations like Strike Debt. Now, Strike Debt is a rather interesting organization, and it's talking about basically all debt, not just student debt. And
Yeah, they do mortgage and medical
that's
as
right.
well.
That's right. And I'd like to read a small paragraph from the Strike Debt Principles of Solidarity. And it basically says Strike Debt holds that we are debtors, we're all debtors, whether or not we have a personal loan or loan agreement, through the manipulation of sovereign and municipal debt. The costs of speculator-driven crises are passed on to all of us through different kinds of debt, and it can affect the same household. They are all interconnected, and so all household debtors have a common interest in resisting debt. And one of the other points that they make, which is a real sour note for all of us, and that's that how many people are borrowing money actually just to put food on the table or to buy transport.
Oh, on your credit cards, absolutely. I did it.
Yep.
I did it.
Yeah, and then,
A lot of people are doing it.
Right.
And they, what are you going to do? Not feed your kid, or are you going to go and use that credit card to buy food? And the credit cards were very easy to get.
yes,
Now, I would like to mention here that Strike Debt, they did their buying of debt as a temporary type thing. They wanted to show the American people it was meant to be temporary. They don't even know we're talking about them right at the moment. Because they wanted people to see that they could buy debt for as low as 15 cents on the dollar.
Right.
And that what these huge markups were and what they, it was a short-term plan. Now they ran into problems, okay? Once they found out what they were doing and who they were, then it was refused. They were refused to sell debt. So that's something, if we really want to do that, we're going to have to find a way around that.
sure. And that what you're saying is that when other people found out what they were doing, basically the
The banks.
then what they wanted to do was destroy the mechanism that was helping the common people. They can't stand that.
And they knew that this was going to happen. I mean, they accomplished what they want to, and they've moved on, and they're helping the Corinthian. They have the offshoot now. They're an offshoot of the Occupy movement.
Right.
And they went on to other bigger and better things trying to help with this resistance movement. However, we're going to keep that on our burner. I mean, I still like the idea, as unrealistic as everybody tells me it is.
Yeah.
I don't really want to let it go.
Well, it's Tracy, the thing that somebody stepped in, or the powerful and the moneyed stepped in to break the back of this endeavor, it isn't really surprising, because as I was talking about my book for several times that I've been with you, I pointed out how we always jump in to save the super rich. We put $800 billion into the saving of the savings and loans. We put
Many years ago,
$3
yeah.
trillion into saving the banks and the investment bankers from this most recent.
And that's not a figure you see.
No, it isn't.
You see about 700 billion is the highest figure I've seen.
Right. And here's what's happening, though. We step in, we do all this saving, we bring them back to a place where they're making where they're making a big profit again, and then the Fed still continues to have these overnight fund rates at 1/4%. And you stop and think about that. They're borrowing money from the federal government. Can you borrow money for a 1/4%?
Not at all.
No, you can't. But the big institutions can. And then what they do is when you go to get a credit card from them, what do? You look at the interest rate that they're charging you, and Citibank is one of the biggest abusers of this.
Oh, yeah,
they're charging
got rid of them a long time.
18 to 24% interest, and they're getting overnight Fed funds for 1/4%. Now, where else can you get that kind of a guaranteed markup in our society if you're the small guy? You can't.
You can't.
And that's all part of this student debt situation as well.
And then it goes into, look at our tax dollars. People are always screaming about, I don't want to help people on welfare. They're,
Right.
My tax dollar, less than $100 of your tax dollars go to them as an individual. Over $2,000 goes to the banking, to the Wall Street, to these big corporations. Now, I'm not talking about your mom and pops.
Right.
I'm talking about these giant conglomerates.
Right. It's amazing how.
And they have us turning on each other.
That's right. That's pure behavioralism. Is that what you do is you create enough friction within the society so that the people who are needy turn against each other rather than to address the source of the problem.
Well, it's basically the middle class feels like they're being beat up. Why should I have to help somebody with their mortgage? Why should I have to help somebody when, they're on welfare? Why am I having to do that? But the truth is, and it wouldn't be this way with an educated society.
No.
Okay, that's why we need to educate people. That's why we used to be number one, and we used to have free education.
Yes. I hate to say it, but I can even remember the days when you could ride the train all over the middle part of the United States, and nowadays, if to do that, you have to jump on a freight train. We used to be the number one rail society in the world at the end of World War II, and now where are we? We don't even have a train that can go 100 miles an hour without going off the tracks, and yet the Europeans and the Japanese and the Chinese all have trains that go almost 250 miles an hour without going off the tracks. So it's
transportation has been forgotten in our country
right.
as well.
Right.
Because you can't live here in Florida without a car.
No, you can't.
You just can't. I was out without a car for 6 months. It was. I had done the bus thing when I was young. It was
Yes.
different.
Yes.
Boy, that was miserable. And the buses are much improved over what they used to be when I remember them from being 16, 17, and 18 and working and,
Right.
coming down from out of the mountains in New Mexico and the bus and the ice and all that. But it was still, you get nowhere fast.
Yeah, it's a matter of fact.
So when are these people supposed to educate themselves? When are they supposed to know what the truth is? When they're spending all these hours on buses or carpooling. It's unrealistic to expect them to be up and above on all that's going on in politics. I can't even keep up.
Yeah. Well, that's again, if we focus back on the student issue, the fact of the matter is, as I explained to the students in that one conference that we had, they're really third-class citizens, and they're being made third-class citizens by discrimination that's created by our government, saying the students, we don't care about you, everybody else can go into bankruptcy, but students, hey, you're not here, you're not strong enough to actually create enough power, enough voice in Congress, enough voice in the state legislature to cause us to do anything. So they're written off because they're the least effective. It's just like the legislatures in the days of discrimination treated the blacks,
right.
Or how we treated the Asians in World War II.
Or the Indians.
The Indians, absolutely. So that's where the students are now, and that's why this society that we're forming or have formed is we brought it into existence to help combat some of this and give students a voice. Now, one of the other things that we said that we would do is develop a pay-it-forward program for those who have used the organization's services. In other words, trying to, if we help someone, to cause them also to be ready to help others who follow them so that they pay it forward and create a system that will, in fact, allow everyone to see the benefits of the organization and continue to improve their status in both as a student and a person who's borrowed money from the government, or even someone who needs help after they've graduated college.
With their business, yes,
Yes.
because businesses, how many businesses fail within the first year?
Yeah,
So-
that's right.
So, we need to help them there. I mean, and we need to start our businesses because there are no jobs. There really literally are no jobs out there.
Right.
I mean, a few get them, and there's plenty of people that aren't struggling with student loan debt, but that's only one major crisis away for most of them. I mean, most people that are earning low three-figure incomes are living above their means, and it would only take one accident, one job loss.
That's right.
That's
right. That's proven over and over again by the tragedy that we had in 2008.
Yes.
And
And again, people were made to feel at fault for that.
yes.
When they were lied to.
Right. And if your employer decides that as a result of the downturn in the stock market, they're going to lay off 5,000 employees, and you're one of those 5,000, try to go out and find a job in the middle of a recession.
Well, mergers too.
Yeah. Yeah. And are you to blame for that if you don't have a job and you lose your home? Is that your fault because the employer laid off 5,000 people? I don't think so. Never will believe that.
Well, unfortunately, we're judged by the bottom of the barrel.
That's a tragedy.
It is a tragedy, and I don't know when that started happening, but it is very prevalent now. I don't even read comments most of the time because it's just sad. So the Pay It Forward program, I think people will benefit from that in many ways. Whenever you pay it forward, there's always benefits that come along with that, I believe. And it can establish a great network for us of people creating jobs, of people needing jobs and getting jobs, and companies. We're hoping they'll be involved. We can just all work together and do what the government should be doing.
Right, and then that ties in with creating, also as an objective, creating a type of a Fund Me style program for students and student loan debtors, so that there is an option out there other than just looking at the traditional methods of you either pay back or else you go around under a black cloud for the rest of your life. We think that we need to create as many options as possible to resolve these issues. And then another is to work with other public action organizations on targeted objectives and petitions related to student debt, curricula, and other issues. And I know on the curricula side, we always talk about the curves, right? Mm-hmm. And we always talk about grade deflation or inflation, where someone who went to school 20 years ago would have received a C for a piece of work, but nowadays they're receiving an A. No.
Yeah, well, and that's the way the colleges are funded, whether they're for-profit or not. It has a lot to do with the college funded. But also now you have people that can get 7.0 and 6.0, and they've got all these different programs, and they don't necessarily equate to an A, but if somebody, it's a C at a 4.0 in these special, I don't know what they're called. It just flew out of my brain. But you all probably know what they're called. But anyway, the 4.0 with these different special things they have going on is a C, but your employer, your people that go out, parents are pushing their kids into these programs. They're like a higher ed type thing. And even if they get a 4.0, when you put that on your resume or whatever it looks, people don't check.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're an A student.
Right. It is a tragedy. And, of course, I can't do anything but applaud the judge in Atlanta who sentenced the educators to long terms in prison.
Yes, it's about time.
Yes, because education is not supposed to be something that you play tricks with. It isn't supposed to be something where you say a person can graduate, but you've allowed them to cheat on their tests or even showed them how to cheat on their tests
Oh, it happens all the time.
in order to get through school, and the person walks out and they can't even tell you where some of the states in the United States are, or where some of the countries in the world are.
I was in class with people that can't read.
Yeah.
Okay, but they're taking their money,
Right.
and then they chopped off because they were supposed to have special classes to bring them up to.
Yes.
But eventually they cut those out too. So now you've got people sitting there that can't even read, and this is happening all over the place.
It is a tragedy, and again, I can just say, if anyone doesn't understand why this organization hasn't existed before, well, then all I can say is pitch in and help us with the organization at this point in time, because it needs to exist.
It needs to exist, and we want help. We want community engagement. That's what would make that work. And I want us all to come together. I don't care what religion. I don't care what politics you think. I mean, the point is I've talked to people on all parties that think this is a tragedy.
Yeah,
It's just, now who do you vote for?
that's right.
So it's hard. It's a hard decision.
Another thing is to educate students on options to debt financing through activities including but not limited to events, seminars, radio, electronic media like we're doing now, the television shows and advertising, and then to maintain data banks on lawsuit decisions and briefs that would help students seek judicial debt relief. And yeah, right. It is really important because right now you have a student who's in that situation and they want to really test the limits of the law or the cage in which they've been put. And it's an unjust cage. Again, I can't stress that enough. So the only way they can do it is by getting an attorney to file an adversarial action.
So you're forced to look for the loopholes.
Yes, right. And the point here is generally they have to start from nothing, and so do the attorneys, because very few attorneys specialize.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of
They
specialization.
don't want to because there's no money there, right? How can you make money if you're just taking someone through bankruptcy? The bankruptcy mill is the straight old bankruptcy outside of student loans. And there they can do 3 or 4 cases a day, and they can get paid $2,500 for each case, so that's not bad money, right? But in a student loan case, you have to take extra action to file an adversarial proceeding in order to get the federal district court outside of the bankruptcy court to make a determination that you actually have a right under the Bruner standard, the 3-point Bruner standard, to be one of these people who have an unusual circumstance that would hamper your actual life or your existence. Well, why is it that the lawyers and the students have a hard time with this? Because these cases are all filed away somewhere. They're in files that cost you lots of money to find out.
I mean,
like
there's
Lexis and Westlaw.
And they know what they're doing.
Sure they do. And so one of the things that would happen here is that we would also actually have a data bank that would include the key cases and allow attorneys and students to have free access to that data bank.
So please, if you're interested in helping us, definitely contact us. You can reach me at no, I can't give that. I was hacked. So, yeah, I'm still fighting with my email. Actually, I have another one, Tracy Marks at gmail.com. And that is my name, TracyMarks. It's the number 1, the number 1, Tracy Marks at gmail.com. I need that other email back too. And unfortunately, we're like almost out of time again, and we didn't get to go over so many things. What do you want to wind up with? Because we're going to have to go back and do this. I'm actually not going to be here next week.
I see.
So, do you want to be here next week? We should try to film a show maybe during the week so we can go over more of this. It is in depth, and we get to talking, or I get to talking, and I take us off track. I got to.
No, listen, there is nothing off track here, because the point of it is everything that we say relates to a very difficult situation in our society, and it leads to trying to provide economic equality. And that's I don't know how much time we have left, but I would...
Well, it's 7:26, so about a minute. We got about a minute.
The thing that I'd like to point out is that we do need to create an enterprise center at each university if we can, so that students who have good ideas don't have to turn to the outside world where they will be rebuffed from starting these good ideas and good programs. In other words, we need the Microsoft garage right inside the university for everyone in the community to access and the students to access
And we need to help fund them. We need to
Absolutely.
do this here instead of everything going overseas so we can create jobs, so we can create some self-worth again. And you know, nobody really wants to go to school and drop the ball and not pay their loans. I'm
Right.
telling you, it doesn't feel good at all. I mean, going into default was probably one of the hardest things I ever did, especially since my credit score was 720. I was so proud, no matter what else was wrong, and you know, I had to get help from the system. No matter, I still had my 720 credit score. And you know, I know people that won't even tell their parents that they're struggling because they're too ashamed, and that it's nothing to be ashamed of. So let me give you my phone number, 954-673-9856. Catch us at wearethepeople.tv for the archives if you need this information. And I'm hoping that we'll hear from you all so we can help make a difference and turn this around, because it's only going to get worse.
Right.
Every year, people are graduating with a higher average debt load, so we need to do something. Help us out, and we'll see you next week.
You bet, Tracy. Thanks
All
a
right,
lot.
all right.
You have been listening to We Are the People with social advocates Tracy Marks and Jorge Estamba, who every week bring to the light the needs and changes in our current system. Tune in every Monday night at 7 p.m. on wearethepeople.tv and participate in the conversation in the chat room or call 888-565-1470. Tune in next Monday for more information and facts. And Tracy and Jorge remind you to stay aware of your surroundings and challenges at all times.